We've all been there, haven't we? Sacrificing our time, energy, and even our identity for someone we care about, hoping they'll see our efforts and reciprocate. But what happens when that person takes advantage of our kindness, when they take what they need and disappear, leaving us empty-handed and wondering where we went wrong? It's like handing someone a perfectly baked loaf of bread, only to watch them devour it without so much as a thank you, then vanish when it's time to return the favor. Sound familiar? This is the cycle many of us find ourselves trapped in, giving too much and receiving too little. But here's the truth. You can stop this cycle. You can regain control. Today, we're diving into 9 powerful insights drawn from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. These aren't just theoretical ideas. They're practical, actionable changes you can make in your life starting now. By avoiding these 9 behaviors, you'll not only see shifts in your relationships, but also feel a profound change within yourself. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, let go of what we can't, and protect our peace at all costs. It's not about being cold or detached. It's about being wise. You don't need to light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Instead, you should become the fire, strong, self-sustaining, and untouchable by those who only show up when they're cold. Here's a hard truth. Not everyone who walks into your life deserves a permanent seat at your table. Some people are guests, not residents, and they'll leave a mess if you let them stay too long. That's why understanding these 9 things is critical. It's the key to keeping your inner house clean and your energy intact. Imagine this. You're a lighthouse. Your job isn't to chase ships or beg them to dock. It's to stand tall, shine brightly, and guide the worthy ones to safe shores. Those who truly value you will recognize your light and respect your boundaries. The rest? Let them drift. So, if you've been feeling frustrated, undervalued, or just plain exhausted in your relationships, it's time to flip the script. This isn't about revenge or playing games. It's about stepping into your power and living with intention. But before we dive into these 9 transformative lessons, take a moment. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss any of the future explorations we're crafting to help you live your best life. Ready? Let's get started. Number 1, don't twist yourself into knots to fit their mold. Picture this. You're holding a puzzle piece, trying to jam it into a space where it just doesn't belong. No matter how much you twist or turn it, it won't fit. Frustrating, isn't it? That's exactly what it feels like when you bend, mold, and reshape your life to meet someone else's expectations. But here's the kicker. Why are you trying so hard to fit into their puzzle? Why are you shrinking your edges, sanding down your uniqueness, just to blend in with someone else's picture? Life wasn't meant to be lived as an imitation. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Everywhere means nowhere." And isn't that true? When you're busy trying to be everything for everyone, trying to please, trying to conform, you end up feeling lost. Your goals blur. Your sense of self fades. You wake up one day and barely recognize the person staring back at you. Let's be real. Isn't it exhausting to keep playing the chameleon, changing colors, adapting to every new environment just to be accepted? What if, instead of blending in, you stood tall like a mountain, unmovable, undeniable, unapologetically yourself? This isn't about arrogance. It's about authenticity. You see, trying to fit someone else's mold is like putting on a mask. Sure, it might look convincing for a while, but masks are heavy. They crack under pressure. And eventually, the person you're pretending to be will suffocate the person you truly are. Now, you might be wondering, but what if they don't like the real me? Here's the truth. If someone only sticks around because you're playing a role, do you even want them in your life? Do you want to build a relationship on a foundation of pretense, knowing full well it could crumble the moment you reveal your true self? When you twist yourself to fit their mold, you're essentially saying, "My worth comes from your approval." But that's not true, is it? Your worth isn't tied to how well you meet their expectations. It's in how boldly you embrace your own. Think about a lighthouse. It doesn't dim its light because some ships prefer the darkness. It doesn't shift its beam to chase passing boats. The lighthouse stays steady, shining brightly, guiding those who truly value its light. You are that lighthouse. You don't need to twist, shrink, or reshape yourself for anyone. Let them come to you, drawn by your unwavering brilliance. And here's another thing. Life is fleeting. The time you spend twisting yourself into knots for others' approval is time you'll never get back. Imagine lying on your deathbed and realizing you lived someone else's life instead of your own. That's not just sad, it's tragic. Let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you stopped living for others and started living for yourself? Would you pursue that passion you've been putting on hold? Would you finally wear that outfit you've been too scared to try because it's not what they like? Would you speak your mind without fear of judgment? It's not easy to walk your own path. There will be resistance. People might question you. Some might even walk away. But that's okay. Not everyone is meant to travel with you. And those who can't handle the real you were never meant to stay. Remember, your life is your story. You are the author. Don't hand the pen to someone else and let them write a tale of mediocrity. Write boldly. Write fiercely. Make every chapter so authentic that it feels like poetry to your soul. The world doesn't need another carbon copy. It needs you, your quirks, your dreams, your voice, your vision. So stop trying to be the puzzle piece that fits into their picture and start being the masterpiece that redefines the entire game. When you live authentically, you send a powerful message to the world. This is me. Take it or leave it. And here's the thing. You'll find that the right people, the ones who truly matter, will always take it. They'll celebrate your uniqueness, not try to change it. So, stand tall. Stop twisting yourself into knots. Be the lighthouse, the mountain, the masterpiece. Let your true colors shine, not for them, but for you. Because at the end of the day, the only person who truly needs to love your life is the one living it. Number 2, don't lose yourself. Chasing someone else's orbit. Imagine a satellite endlessly circling a planet, its existence entirely dependent on the gravitational pull of the planet below. It moves in predictable patterns, never breaking free, never exploring the vast universe beyond. This is what happens when you let your life revolve entirely around another person, when your focus, energy, and identity become tied to someone else's world. It might feel noble at first, dedicating yourself to someone you care about. But ask yourself, at what cost? When your thoughts, actions, and dreams are consumed by another, where do you fit in? What happens to your aspirations, your passions, your journey? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." But here's the problem. When you obsess over someone, you lose that retreat. Your soul becomes a chaotic storm, swirling with their needs, their desires, their whims. It's not peace, it's noise. You might think, isn't love supposed to be selfless? Sure, love requires care and compromise, but love isn't supposed to erase you. It's not about sacrificing your dreams to build someone else's castle while your own home crumbles to dust. Picture this. You're pouring water from a pitcher into someone else's glass, and you keep pouring even when your pitcher is empty. What's left for you? Nothing but exhaustion and emptiness. You can't nourish someone else if you're running on fumes. Obsessing over someone doesn't just drain you, it blinds you. You become so fixated on their happiness that you forget to chase your own. It's like being in a dense forest, staring at a single tree, unable to see the beauty of the entire landscape. And here's a harsh truth. When you center your life around someone else, you inadvertently send a message that your own life isn't worth centering on. People can sense that. They see that you've placed them on a pedestal, and too often, instead of appreciating it, they begin to take it for granted. After all, why value something that seems so readily available, so entirely devoted to their orbit? So, what's the solution? First, take a step back. Ask yourself, what do I want? What makes me come alive? It's easy to lose sight of your own identity when you're constantly looking through someone else's lens. But your goals, your passions, your happiness, they matter. They're not secondary. Second, shift your focus inward. Build your life with the same energy you've been pouring into theirs. It's not selfish. It's necessary. A tree doesn't apologize for growing tall and strong, for reaching toward the sun, for standing firm in the wind. You don't need to apologize for prioritizing yourself either. You might wonder, won't they think I don't care anymore? But let me ask you this. If someone only values you when you're bending over backward for them, is that the kind of relationship you want? True connections thrive on mutual respect, not one-sided devotion. Think of a star in the night sky. It doesn't chase the planets. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply shines, and those who appreciate its light are drawn to it. You are that star. Stop running yourself ragged, trying to be someone else's satellite. Remember, your life isn't a supporting act in someone else's story. You're not an extra on the sidelines, waiting for your moment to speak. You're the main character. You're the author. And this is your story to tell. What would your life look like if you broke free from their orbit? Would you rediscover old hobbies, explore new passions, or finally pursue that dream you've been putting off? Would you feel lighter, freer, more alive? When you reclaim your energy, you don't just restore your balance, you elevate yourself. And that elevation creates a ripple effect. People are drawn to those who radiate self-confidence and purpose. By stepping into your power, you inspire others to do the same. But don't do it for them. Do it for you. Do it because you deserve to live a life that feels full and meaningful, not one where you're constantly chasing someone else's shadow. Break free from their orbit. Stand tall, like a lighthouse guiding the way, not a ship tossed by the tides. This is your life, your journey, your universe to explore. And you owe it to yourself to see just how vast and incredible it can be. Always remember, the world doesn't need you to be someone else's satellite. It needs you to shine as the star you are. Number 3. Don't hand over the keys to your peace. Imagine you're holding a flashlight in the pitch-black wilderness. It's your only source of light, your only guide through the darkness. Now imagine someone asks you to hand it over because they've lost their way. You want to help, so you give it to them, but now you're stumbling blindly, lost and vulnerable. That's exactly what it feels like when you prioritize someone else's happiness at the expense of your own mental health and well-being. Too often, we fall into this trap. We bend over backward to keep someone else happy, even when it chips away at our own peace. We tell ourselves it's worth it, that sacrifice is love. But let me ask you this. If you're left empty and broken, is it really love? Your mental health is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the foundation upon which every aspect of your life is built. Without it, even the brightest moments can feel dim. And when you let someone else's needs overshadow your own, you're effectively handing them the keys to your peace, saying, "Here, you drive my happiness." Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But how can you cultivate good thoughts when you're constantly putting someone else's emotional storms ahead of your own clear skies? You might think, but isn't it selfish to put myself first? Let's flip that question. Is it fair to neglect yourself for the sake of others? Is it fair to let your own light dim until you're stumbling through life, all to keep someone else shining? Think about a tree in a forest. It doesn't grow by giving away all its water and sunlight to the trees around it. It thrives because it takes what it needs first, and then its strength provides shelter and oxygen for others. If the tree withers, the forest suffers. The same applies to you. When you prioritize your own well-being, you're not just helping yourself, you're creating a stronger, healthier foundation for everyone around you. Now you might wonder, but what if they need me? What if I'm the only one who can help them? Here's the truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't be their support system if you're falling apart inside. Helping others doesn't mean sacrificing your own stability. It means finding a balance that allows you to give without losing yourself. Let's take it a step further. What if the person you're prioritizing doesn't even appreciate your efforts? What if they've grown so used to your selflessness that they take it for granted? That's the danger of neglecting your own needs. You risk becoming invisible, even to the people you care about most. So, how do you protect your mental health and happiness without feeling guilty? First, recognize that your mind is your sanctuary. It's the one place that's truly yours. No one else has the right to clutter it with negativity, demands, or guilt. Protect it fiercely, like a castle guarding its gates. If someone's actions or words threaten your peace, it's okay to set boundaries. In fact, it's necessary. Second, reclaim the narrative. Stop playing the supporting role in someone else's story and step into the lead role of your own. You weren't put on this earth to be someone's emotional punching bag or their perpetual rescuer. You were meant to thrive, to shine, to live a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. And let's be clear, protecting your happiness doesn't mean shutting people out or refusing to help them. It means recognizing when you're giving too much, when the scales are tipping out of balance. It means learning to say no without guilt and yes to yourself without hesitation. Think of your mind as a garden. When you let weeds grow unchecked, resentment, stress, self-neglect, they choke out the flowers. But when you tend to your own needs, when you nurture your mental health, your garden blooms. And those who truly value you will appreciate the beauty you bring, not just the shade you provide. Life is too short to let anyone steal your peace. It's too fleeting to spend it walking on eggshells, constantly trying to make someone else happy while you suffer in silence. Your happiness, your mental health, they're not bargaining chips. They're not sacrifices you lay at someone else's feet. So take back the keys, shine your flashlight, stand tall, like the tree that takes its sunlight unapologetically, knowing that its strength benefits everyone around it. Protect your mind, guard your peace, and remember, the most important person to make happy is the one staring back at you in the mirror. This is your life, your story, your journey. Don't let anyone else take the wheel. You have the power to shape your own destiny. Don't trade it away for fleeting approval or temporary connections. Choose yourself and watch how everything else begins to fall into place. Number 4, don't chop down the tree that holds you up. Imagine a strong, towering tree. Its branches stretch wide, providing shade, support, and a safe place to lean on. Now picture yourself, saw in hand, cutting off those very branches one by one, just because someone told you the tree wasn't necessary anymore. Absurd, right? Yet, this is what happens when you start pushing friends and family away for the sake of someone else. Friends and family are those branches. They've been there for you, holding you up, giving you strength when life felt unbearable. But when you let your focus drift entirely to one person, neglecting those who've always had your back, you're not just cutting off branches, you're weakening the entire tree. Plato once said, "People are like dirt. They can either nourish you and help you grow as a person, or they can stunt your growth and make you wilt and die." Your friends and family are that nourishing soil. They're the foundation that keeps you grounded, helping you grow even in life's harshest seasons. Push them away, and you'll find yourself standing in rocky, barren ground. Now you might think, but what if they don't understand how much I care about this person? Sure, your loved ones might not always see things from your perspective. They might even voice concerns or opinions you don't want to hear. But their love and advice come from a place of deep care. A care that's been proven time and again, long before this person ever entered your life. It's easy to get swept up in the thrill of a new relationship, to feel like you need to prioritize them above all else. But at what cost? Think of a bridge built on multiple pillars. Remove one or two, and the bridge may still stand. But if you keep taking pillars away, the entire structure will collapse. That's what happens when you isolate yourself from your loved ones. You risk collapsing under the weight of challenges you could have faced together. You might be wondering, what if this person feels threatened by my closeness to my friends or family? That's a red flag waving loud and clear. Anyone who truly cares for you will want to see you supported and happy. They won't demand exclusivity at the expense of your other relationships. They'll encourage you to nurture them. And let's face it, relationships, especially romantic ones, can be unpredictable. People come and go. Feelings change. But true friends and family, they're the constants. They're the ones who stick around when the storms hit, when the excitement fades, and when you're left questioning everything. Think back to a time when you faced a tough challenge. Who was there to hold you up, to remind you of your worth when you felt at your lowest? Odds are, it wasn't a fleeting romance or a new connection. It was the people who know you best, who've been with you through thick and thin. So what should you do if you've already let some of those branches go? Start rebuilding. It's never too late to reconnect with the people who matter. Send that text, make that call, show up for them in the same way they've shown up for you. Relationships, even the strongest ones, require care and attention to thrive. And remember, prioritizing your loved ones doesn't mean neglecting the person you care about. It's not an either-or situation. You can create a balance where your friendships and family bonds coexist alongside your romantic connections. In fact, doing so strengthens all aspects of your life. Here's a metaphor to hold on to. Life is like a garden. Each relationship is a different plant, contributing to the beauty and balance of the whole. Neglecting your friends and family is like focusing all your attention on a single flower, letting the rest of the garden wither. Sure, that one flower might bloom beautifully for a time, but without the other plants, the garden loses its vibrancy. You deserve a full, thriving garden, not just one flower. And the people who truly care about you will want to be part of that garden, not its sole centerpiece. Ultimately, your friends and family are your safety net. They're the ones who catch you when you fall, cheer you on when you rise, and remind you of your worth when you forget. Don't take them for granted. Don't let someone else's presence convince you that these bonds are expendable. Rekindle those relationships. Water those roots. Because no matter where life takes you, a strong tree with deep roots can weather any storm. And so can you. Number 5. Don't throw your hours into a bottomless pit. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a dark abyss, clutching your most precious treasure, your time. Now imagine tossing it piece by piece into that endless void, hoping it will be enough to fill it, enough to matter, enough to make someone stay. But no matter how much you throw in, the abyss remains insatiable, consuming without gratitude, without giving anything back. This is what it feels like when you invest too much of your time into someone who doesn't value it. Time is the most irreplaceable currency of life. Every second you spend is a piece of your existence you'll never get back. Yet, so many of us give it away freely, pouring it into people who treat it like spare change. Seneca said it best. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And isn't that the truth? We convince ourselves that giving all our time to someone is an act of love, but in reality, it's often an act of neglect, neglecting ourselves, our dreams, and our own happiness. You might think, but isn't time the best way to show I care? Of course, time is a gift, but it's only meaningful when it's given with balance and purpose. If you're pouring all your time into someone else at the expense of your own growth and joy, you're not showing care, you're showing dependency. Think of your time as a garden. You have a limited amount of water to nourish everything in it. If you focus all your water on one plant, the rest of the garden withers. Worse, the plant you're overwatering might drown under the excess, its roots unable to handle the flood. Your relationships, like that garden, need balance to thrive. Here's the harsh reality. People who truly value you will never demand all your time. They'll respect your need for space, for self-discovery, for pursuing your own passions. If someone constantly pulls at you, expecting you to drop everything for them, they're not cherishing your time, they're consuming it. And let's talk about the fear that often drives this behavior. You might think, if I don't give them all my time, they'll leave. But ask yourself, do you really want someone who only sticks around because you're always available? Genuine connections are built on mutual respect, not on one person's relentless availability. Think of the most vibrant moments of your life, the times you felt truly alive, inspired, fulfilled. Were those moments spent waiting on someone else's whims, or were they spent pursuing your passions, exploring your dreams, and connecting with people who uplift you? Time isn't just hours on a clock, it's the essence of your life. When you waste it on someone who doesn't appreciate it, you're not just losing minutes, you're losing pieces of yourself. You might wonder, but how do I balance it? How do I give enough without losing myself? Start by reclaiming ownership of your time. Treat it like the precious resource it is. Allocate it thoughtfully, some for the people you care about, but plenty for yourself, your growth, and your passions. Imagine you're a master artist, and time is your canvas. Every choice you make adds color and depth to the masterpiece of your life. Don't let someone else grab the brush and dictate what the painting should look like. This is your art, your legacy. Ask yourself, is this person adding value to my life, or are they merely consuming it? If they're not contributing to your happiness, your growth, or your peace, why are you giving them so much of your time? And let's not forget, when you reclaim your time, you become more attractive, not just to others, but to yourself. There's a magnetic quality in people who know their worth, who prioritize their passions, and who live with intention. When you stop chasing and start thriving, you naturally draw the right people toward you. Ultimately, your time is yours, and yours alone. Don't fritter it away on someone who sees it as disposable. Invest it in things that bring you joy, in pursuits that make you feel alive, in people who uplift and inspire you. Picture this. Instead of standing at the edge of that abyss, you're now on a mountaintop, surveying the incredible landscape of your life. Every hour you've reclaimed has built this view, this sense of freedom, this undeniable strength. The abyss is far behind you, unable to touch the brilliance of the life you've created. This is your time, your life. Don't let anyone dim its light or drain its value. Spend it wisely, and you'll find yourself richer than you ever imagined. Number 6. Don't hand over the keys to your hidden vault. Imagine you have a treasure chest filled with the most valuable pieces of your life, the victories, the heartbreaks, the struggles, and the lessons you've gathered along the way. This chest isn't just a collection of memories. It's a map of who you are and how far you've come. Now, would you hand the key to this chest to just anyone? Of course not. Yet when you reveal every detail of your past, especially the difficult parts, to someone too soon, you're essentially leaving that chest wide open for them to take or judge as they please. Your past isn't a casual story for entertainment. It's your personal journey. Every scar, every challenge, every triumph has shaped the person you are today. Sharing it all with someone who hasn't earned your trust is like placing your most cherished possessions on a table and walking away, hoping they won't misuse them. You might wonder, but isn't vulnerability important in relationships? Yes, vulnerability is essential for building connections, but it must be shared wisely. Not everyone deserves access to your deepest wounds or your most painful memories. Think of your past as a delicate piece of art. Would you let someone with unclean hands touch it, risking damage? Or would you wait for someone who respects its value and knows how to handle it with care? Opening up too quickly can lead to unexpected consequences. What if the person you've trusted isn't as compassionate as they seemed? What if they use your past against you in a moment of conflict, turning your vulnerability into a weapon? These are hard truths, but they're worth considering before you bare your soul. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your past is part of your mind's narrative, a collection of lessons you've learned through experience. By keeping certain aspects of it private, you protect your inner strength from being manipulated or misunderstood. It's also worth asking yourself, why do I feel the need to share so much? Often, we overshare because we're seeking validation, hoping someone will see our struggles and love us despite them. But here's the thing, true connection doesn't require you to expose every scar. It grows from mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Think about a river. Its depths hold mysteries that aren't immediately visible from the surface. But does that make it any less beautiful or meaningful? Of course not. In fact, it's the depth, the parts you can't see at first glance, that makes it so captivating. You too have depths that not everyone needs to explore. Some might argue, but doesn't hiding parts of my past mean I'm being dishonest? Not at all. Honesty doesn't mean laying your entire life bare. It means being genuine and authentic in what you choose to share. There's a big difference between hiding your truth and protecting your peace. When you keep certain parts of your past private, you're not being deceitful, you're setting boundaries. And boundaries are essential for maintaining your emotional health. They act as guardrails, keeping your trust and vulnerability safe from those who might not handle them with care. So, how do you decide what to share and what to keep to yourself? Ask yourself these questions. Does this person truly need to know this? Have they earned my trust? Will sharing this enrich our connection, or am I simply seeking approval? And remember, not everyone will understand your story, and that's okay. Some chapters of your life are meant for your eyes only. They're the parts that helped you grow, the lessons you've learned, the battles you've fought. Sharing them isn't a requirement for connection. It's a privilege you grant to those who prove themselves worthy. Think of your life as a castle, with high walls protecting its treasures. Not everyone gets a key to the gates, and not everyone deserves to walk inside. Some can admire it from a distance, and a select few might be invited into the outer courtyard. But only the most trusted individuals should be allowed into the inner sanctum, where your most personal stories are kept. This isn't about being secretive or closed off. It's about valuing yourself enough to protect what's sacred. It's about recognizing that your past, especially the tough times, isn't a burden. It's a badge of resilience. By holding on to the most personal parts of your story, you're not just safeguarding your heart, you're maintaining your power. And when the time comes to share your narrative with someone truly deserving, it will be on your terms, in your own way, with the strength and grace that only you possess. Your life is your treasure chest, and you alone hold the key. Choose wisely who you allow to open it. Number 7. Don't lose yourself by always saying yes. Picture this. You're at a crossroads, and instead of taking the path that excites you, the one that feels right, you're constantly pulled down someone else's road. Each step feels heavier, each turn more frustrating, but you keep walking because you don't want to disappoint them. You nod, you agree, you say yes, again and again, until you've wandered so far from your own path that you barely recognize where you are. This is the reality of people-pleasing. When you agree to things just to keep someone else happy, you're not compromising, you're sacrificing. And the thing you're sacrificing is your most precious possession, your authenticity. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Yet, how can your thoughts remain clear and uplifting when you're constantly suppressing your own desires to meet someone else's expectations? How can you find happiness when your life becomes a performance, scripted and directed by someone else? You might think, but isn't it kind to say yes? Isn't it selfless to put others first? Sure, kindness is a virtue, but there's a fine line between kindness and self-betrayal. Saying yes to things that go against your true desires isn't kindness, it's compliance. It's handing over the reins of your life to someone else and hoping they steer you somewhere worthwhile. Let me ask you this. When you agree to things you don't truly want, how do you feel afterward? Do you feel content, or do you feel a knot of frustration growing in your chest? Do you feel peace, or do you feel resentment creeping in, like a shadow overtaking your light? Imagine giving up a hobby you love, painting, reading, hiking, because someone else insists their interests are more important. Over time, your days fill with activities that don't bring you joy, and your sense of self starts to erode. You begin to forget the things that once made you feel alive. But here's the truth. You weren't put on this earth to live for someone else's convenience. Life isn't a stage where you're obligated to perform for applause. It's a journey, and you're the one holding the map. Think of your time and energy as currency. Would you spend your hard-earned money on things you don't want or need just because someone else asked you to? Of course not. So why treat your time, your most irreplaceable asset, any differently? The word no isn't a rejection, it's a boundary. It's a declaration of self-respect, a reminder that your desires and happiness matter just as much as anyone else's. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to protect your peace. You might wonder, but what if they get upset? What if they think I don't care? Here's the thing, the people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. They'll understand that a no doesn't negate your care for them. It reinforces your care for yourself. And what about those who don't understand? What about the ones who guilt-trip you or grow distant when you stop saying yes to everything? Let them go. Their approval isn't worth the cost of losing yourself. Think of a lighthouse. Its light shines steady, guiding ships safely through the dark, but it doesn't move. It doesn't chase the ships, bending to their every demand. It stands firm, rooted in its purpose. You are that lighthouse. You can be a source of support and guidance without losing your stability. Reclaiming your time and choices might feel uncomfortable at first. You might second-guess yourself, worry about the reactions of others. But here's the beauty of it. The more you practice saying no to what doesn't serve you, the more space you create for what truly does. Imagine your life as a canvas. Every yes is a brushstroke, adding color and depth to the picture you're painting. But if someone else is dictating the strokes, the colors, the shapes, what will your masterpiece look like? Will it reflect your soul, or will it be a reflection of someone else's desires? Your story isn't a subplot in someone else's narrative. You're the protagonist, the hero, the creator of your journey. And the most powerful thing you can do is step into that role unapologetically. When you stop agreeing just to satisfy others, you regain control of your life. You start to walk your own path, fueled by passion and purpose rather than obligation. You rediscover the things that bring you joy, the activities that make your soul light up. Life is too short to live it by someone else's script. Say no when you need to. Protect your peace. And never forget that your happiness isn't negotiable. It's your birthright. Number 8. Don't let the fear of being alone hold you captive. Imagine standing at a fork in the road, hesitant to move forward because darkness cloaks both paths. Fear grips you, whispering that solitude lies ahead, that stepping forward means isolation. But what if the darkness isn't something to fear, but an invitation to discover the light within yourself? When you let the fear of being alone dictate your choices, you stumble blindly, often ending up in places you never intended to be. Fear as a poor guide, one that leads not to fulfillment, but to compromise, accepting less than you deserve just to avoid confronting the quiet. But solitude isn't loneliness, it's freedom. Aristotle said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." Solitude offers you the chance to know yourself deeply, to sit in your own company and find not emptiness, but richness, not absence, but abundance. Think of it like a garden. When you spend time cultivating your own soil, tending to your own growth, you create a flourishing space that can welcome others, but not out of need, out of choice. When you know your worth, when you learn to thrive in your own presence, any relationship you form becomes an addition to your life, not a lifeline. Fear would have you believe that solitude is a void. Courage shows you it's a sanctuary. Let courage be your guide, not fear. Discover who you are, value your own company, And when the time comes to walk with someone, you'll do so not because you fear being alone, but because they make your path brighter. Number 9. Don't skip the celebration of small wins. Picture yourself climbing a mountain. Every step brings you closer to the summit, yet you're so focused on the peak that you fail to notice the breathtaking views unfolding around you. That's life when you overlook your small victories, progress made but unacknowledged, moments of resilience that pass without recognition. Epictetus wisely said, "Never depend on the admiration of others. Your journey isn't about external validation. It's about honoring your own efforts, however small they may seem. Each win, whether it's conquering a fear, completing a task, or simply choosing to move forward, is proof of your strength and determination. Imagine your accomplishments as stars in a night sky. Alone, each might appear insignificant, but together they light up the darkness. Every milestone, no matter how minor, contributes to the brilliance of your journey. Take a moment to pause and celebrate. Reflect on the challenges you've overcome, the late nights you've endured, and the self-doubt you've silenced. These victories, big or small, are the building blocks of a life well lived. Life isn't just about reaching the summit, it's about cherishing every step along the way. So, raise a toast to yourself, your strength, your persistence, and your unique path. True freedom isn't found in others' approval or the world's expectations. It springs from within. The Stoics taught us that we control our thoughts, actions, and choices. When you feel the pull to conform, to give away your time, or to overshare, pause and remember,